Hello, how are you? In this tutorial and I'm going to teach you how to create a photo collage with Photoshop. The truth is that it is a fairly simple process, but it may seem a bit complicated if you're new to the world of photo editing or are just getting used to this program. So without going around too much, let's get started. Then have the program open. The first thing we have to do is come to File, New. Here we are going to configure how we want the proportions of our work. In this case, I'm going to leave it from 9 to 20 by 1081 resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Why do I do this? First, because the truth is the resolution of the screen in which I work, and it has already been quite practical for me when I do the thumbnail and other works in the resolution of 300 pixels per inch, because it is usually the one indicated to be able to print. Maybe you can change this based on the needs that each one has. We are not going to touch the color part unless you want to do something in particular. And after configuring this, we are going to give it a create. Here, as you can see, we have already created what is a workspace. Now what we are going to do is set the limits of where we are going to work, and for that we are going to come to Site. We come to the Guides menu and put a new guide composition. Something that I did not clarify is that I am working with Photoshop version 2023, so possibly if you're using a slightly older version, you may not find the Guides menu in exactly the same place. What we are going to do is configure where we want the guides, and for that we are going to select the number of columns we want and the number of rows. In this case, as you can see, what I have are 2 rows and 2 columns, which gives me a total of 4 rectangles, but you can modify this to your personal taste each time we make a change. Did you see that rectangles are going to be added to us, or are they going to be removed? In this case, I'm going to leave the number of rows and columns as it is, and here below what we can do is in the middle. Indigo. If we modify it, is to adjust the separation that our photographs will have. I leave it as it was at 0.169. But you can set it however you want in the menu below. What you are going to do is select if you want to save a margin. Or did you not see that the border columns were deleted here? This is always very useful in case they are going to print it or have to upload their image to a place where they require a certain margin. If they change the value, the margins will get bigger or smaller. It depends how you leave it. Once they have it configured, they click OK. Now that we are ready to work, we have 2 ways to do it. The first is to come File, Place Embedded Element. We select one of the images that we want to use, and we adjust the size so that you always coincide within the limitation that we make. Once we manage to match, we give it the slow key, and there we have the photograph. Below I remain a little exposed. As you can see, the photograph is already there. If we repeat this with the rest of the photographs, we will already have the base in our tails. Now what we are going to do is delete it, and we are going to go to the second method, which in this one I'm going to spend a little more. We are going to come to what is the new layer. Once we are in the new layer, we are going to select a color that you want. In this case I am going to leave the value it was. We are going to select what the rectangular selection tool is, and we are going to generate a rectangle. Within the limitation that we had already made. Once we have the rectangle, we are going to press the Alt key and then the Delete key so that it fills us with the color that we had selected. We press the Control key to delete the selection, and we are going to repeat this with the other rectangles. We come and create a layer. Once we have the layer, we create the rectangle. We press Alt, Delete. And there he filled us with color again. We are going to repeat this twice, or as many times as the number of rectangles that we have marked. Once we already have the rectangles filled in, we are going to position ourselves on the first secondary. Click Convert to Smart Object. We do the same with the other three. And now you may be wondering the reason for this action that I took. Very easy. We're going to come to layer 1, for example. And this is where the document is. We are going to double click on it. This is what it will leave us as Allow Edited. We are going to give it OK. Here we are inside the Smart Object, but I will be there for the better. Let's open File, Place Item again. Now we will select the image we want. Let's adjust it in size. We confirm. We come and select the cross to close. Here Photoshop is going to ask us to save changes to the document. We give you yes. And they saw that here we have added the photo. We are going to do the same, but for the rest of the layers. Now that we are done with all the rectangles that we already had created, what we are going to do is add some kind of effect to it. For example, we come to layer 1 or any of the layers that you want to FX, and we are going to add a stroke to it, for example. This stroke is to generate this frame for us. In this little part here you saw that it does not say position. We can select if we want the frame to be outside our photograph, inside or centered, both inside and outside. In this case we are going to leave the above. We are going to give it a little more size. I'm going to leave the opacity like this for now. You choose the way this works. I'll leave it normal, I'll give it a color. This is also chosen at ease, as you want. We give it OK once we have the color. At the moment a little the side. Shall we lower the opacity or do you leave it? You can also do that however you want, to personal taste or based on needs. And before confirming what the framework would be, if you want we can give it a little volume coming to what is parallel shadow. Did you see that there I created a rather large shadow? We select drop shadow and here we are going to modify either what is the opacity of the shadow, the angle from which the shadow comes, the distance that we want the shadow to be in our object, the extension that it will have, the size what will you have. Once you're done with that, you guys can even keep trying styles to add the layer. In this case I'm going to give OK. And now what remains is to come to the layer where they place these effects, give it a secondary click on top. Copy layer style. We go to the first layer. Don't have style. We press the Shift key. Let's go to the last one. In this case it is layer 2 and layer 4 so that we select everything. We secondary click, paste the layer style. In this way, as you can see in the photograph, they were exactly the same. This, obviously speaking in size and style of cape. Now we are going to see the important difference between method 1 that we had commented on in the photographs and the one we are doing now. If we come to the archive and we are going to export the photograph, or save it, or save a copy or export for the web, in this case I'm only going to ask you to save a copy and here we maintain what is the Photoshop format. This is what I was going to generate. It is a template so that it is saved in queues and they only have to modify what the intelligent object is. On the other hand, with the first method they were only going to save the JPG and each time they were to add a photograph they would have to adjust the size and do everything again that just cancels. And as you can see, that would be all. Now you know how you can make a photo tail with Photoshop. Now yes, the only thing I can tell you, remember that to be able to use this program all you have to do is experiment. Get your hands on it and start trying different effects, different photos, and so once you have something that suits you, if you want they can share it, either on social networks or by email. If you have any doubts or questions, do not forget to comment that I will gladly try to answer them. And if I see that the question is repeated or has many reactions, I will try to make a video. Answering Wing, I leave you a big greeting, a hug, and I'll be seeing you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.